everyone, and welcome to this episode of Soul Seeds, where my expert for today is Cheryl, also known as the Health Muse, of course. So, thank you for being here with me. And we
Thank
will
you for
dive
having me.
into the topic of cultivating happiness and how to adapt your habits to turn those on. So, I would love to know a bit more about that and how you can create those habits for happiness.
I started researching depression to
Mhm.
do a presentation to a nonprofit here at home because they were so concerned that the statistic is now 47% of the teenagers in the United States have contemplated suicide.
Wow.
And I know that our government has been talking about it, and they're
Mhm.
all giving it back to social media. And
Mhm.
although I do not doubt that bullying on social media could be influencing children and how they feel about themselves, they're missing the forest for the trees. Because if you're not eating what I call the organic rainbow of
Mhm.
all the colors of whole organic foods, your body is not in balance. And when it's not in balance, you aren't turning on all your happy hormones, and there's many of them in your brain. So you can't possibly be living your life to your fullest and at your happiest level. So I
Mhm.
started digging into statistics because I want kids follow what their parents do. So if
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
parents would start eating healthier and feeding their children healthier and sitting at the table with them at night,
Mhm.
like my parents did, they have a much better chance for their children to have more brain power, greater learning ability, and much happier emotions because
Mhm.
they'll be in balance because they're eating the food that fuels all the little mitochondria
Mhm.
in their body that brings them to balance and gives them health.
And is it easier then for them to also regulate everything that's going on in their bodies?
Absolutely. It
Mm.
starts with food. Food is the foundation. There are other things that also turn on the happy hormones, which I want to talk about, which is why I called it cultivating happiness,
Mm.
because there's several things we can do to lead really happy lives. But I want
Mm.
to go back 1 minute and tell you how I became the health muse. I want
Mm.
to inspire everybody to live a healthier life. I was a business owner who was doing everything to be successful except take care of me. I was
Mm.
running all over the world.
Yeah.
I was manufacturing in Asia. All my customers were on the East Coast. I lived on the West Coast. I was constantly in motion. I was eating as fast as I was working all day, and it was all the wrong food. I was buying stuff in boxes. It was all chemicals. I never thought about it. I was hungry, so I wanted to fill the hunger. And my body started to tell me that it was getting into trouble, and I just ignored it. It went through
Mm.
my head with the speed of light. So my joke was first the angels poked me in my arm, then they gave me the NCIS slap, and finally the 2x4 came down. And when
Wow.
the 2x4 came down, I woke up one morning and I couldn't function. I literally couldn't move.
Wow.
And so I gave it 4 days. I thought I had the flu. Didn't seem to be the flu. Went to the doctor, ran 4 different rounds of tests. And she came back and went, guess what? There's nothing wrong with you. I want you to seek mental therapy. I went, that's ludicrous.
Wow.
Something is wrong with my body, and I'm going
Yeah.
to go find it. She
Yeah.
said, he'll be back. And I said, no, probably not. Had a great staff. They were well trained. They took over the business, and I dug in and I had no clue what I was even looking for.
Wow.
The first thing I dug into was what was the difference between organic, conventional, and genetically modified food.
Mm.
Because genetically modified had been on the ballot in California and it lost to inform us when something was genetically modified. And I had
Mm.
no clue what it really even meant. It means that poisons are grown right up in the plant. So that's where I started. And then I was lucky. I tripped into what's called the functional medical community.
Mm.
And functional doctors are trained just like regular doctors, except what caught my attention, they all got sick and couldn't help themselves, or they had a loved one that got sick and couldn't help themselves. So they
Mm.
went for additional training in functional medicine. And the difference is they look at the whole body. They
Right.
don't just go, ooh, you have something wrong with your liver, because they're perfectly aware if there's something wrong with your liver, that's the number one cause of heart disease. And it also impacts your brain, your kidneys, your lower digestive system, everything.
Mhm.
So they were running 19 different symposiums with multiple doctors, and I listened to all of them,
Mhm.
and I made notes. And the first thing I wrote down was toxic load. And yeah, what the heck was toxic load? So I researched that. And
Mhm.
there's a giant database in the sky in the United States that I'm sure Europe can also access, called EWG, the Environmental Working
Mhm.
Group.org. And it's a huge database that will tell you how toxic everything is in your life, whether
Oh.
it's your food or your cleaning supplies or your scents. Perfumes and scents are
Mhm.
very toxic. Even the one that takes the scent out of the air poisons you. And I was like appalled
Mhm.
that I had all these things in my home. First thing I looked up was my expensive French cosmetics, and it was a 9 on a 10-point scale. Literally, I was poisoning myself right through my skin.
Yeah.
Well, as I had started eliminating toxins and I changed to eating organic because I didn't want all the poisons right with my food, I started to feel better. And it took me 5 years to
Mhm.
come back to relative wellness. Then I found my own functional doctor, and she took me the rest of the way home.
Wow.
I came to the conclusion that health is balance. If
Mhm.
you're not taking care of your body and giving yourself all the colors of the rainbow, because they have phytonutrients in them that help all different body functions, and
Mhm.
each color represents a different group. And if you're not getting all the essential nutrients, which are
Mhm.
the minerals and the vitamins that you need, and not the synthetic ones that are in American ultra processed food,
Mhm.
because if you don't know what that word is on the box, your
Oh, yeah.
body doesn't have a clue what it is either. And so
Exactly.
all of that began to change, and I started to feel much better. And as I
Mhm.
started to feel physically better, I also noticed that I was a much happier person. I
Mm,
was
yeah.
actually starting to get up in the morning and go, whoa, I'm ready to attack this day, instead of, whoa, I got to do this, 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 and this. And
Yeah.
my stress was so bad at the
Mhm.
end in my business, I had no cortisol left in my body. I was right on the border of something called Addison's disease. And
Mm.
thank God I caught it in time and returned to balance, because once you go over that wall, you can't come back. And
Right.
so I worked with my functional doctor on getting my cortisone back up, to bringing my body totally into balance
Mhm.
and to living a much happier, more fulfilled life. It ended up what I had was fibromyalgia, which
Oh,
is a very painful autoimmune disease.
right.
And although I still have fibromyalgia, I no longer have pain. So that's enormous, because my body was given what it needed to heal from the inside.
Mm.
So, what does all of this have to do with happiness? It ends up that all of those wonderful things that you eat when you eat real organic food
Mhm.
start in your gut to work with what's called your vagal nerve. And your vagal nerve
Mhm.
needs fiber,
Mhm.
which is only in real food. It's all been removed from processed food. It needs fiber because all those wonderful nutrients jump piggyback on the fiber and travel up the vagal nerve to your
Mhm.
brain. And between your gut and your brain, you have a series of happy hormones. You have dopamine, which
Mhm.
releases that gives you pleasure. You have serotonin, which is what antidepressants actually try to duplicate to
Mhm.
make you happy. So why not make your own? You
Right.
make it in your gut, and if you're
Mhm.
eating the organic rainbow, you're making serotonin, and that travels up to your brain and turns on the serotonin that's made in your brain.
Mhm.
You turn on GABA, which is what bonds mothers to their children,
Mm.
and it's like the happy, um, fulfilling personal communication between humans. You
Mhm.
turn that all on. You stabilize your blood sugar. I was diabetic, and so my insulin was completely out of whack. So
Mhm.
my insulin came back. And when your insulin is out of whack, your emotions are all over the friggin' place. One minute
Mhm.
you're happy, and next minute you're taking somebody's head off. You don't know why you're taking their head off. They don't know why you're taking your head off. So when your insulin gets stabilized, your relationships improve.
Mhm.
And when you do all this, even your strategic brain power improves. And
Yeah.
silly me, I thought all that stress was making me accomplish more. And I learned that by doing breathing exercises twice a day and stabilizing and letting the top off my chronic stress, I had way more energy and brain
Mhm.
power to accomplish my tasks. So I do what I call the Dr. Andrew Weil 478 breathing exercise at 10 and at 2 every day, because I'm never going back there. And so
Yeah.
that takes the top off my stress, which means that my body is in balance and can function correctly.
Mm.
3 weeks ago, I went to a symposium in Phoenix. I have moved to Arizona, and I heard Dr. Bruce Lipton, who's the father of epigenetics, and I'll
Mhm.
explain that, and his best friend, Greg Braden. And they talked about heart math and how the heart brain is even more, it has more brain neurons than our brain has.
Mm.
And the way to turn on your heart math and your heart brain, it fills up the room for one thing. The energy goes out 3 feet, which is much
Wow.
further than your brain energy goes out.
Mhm.
And the way you utilize it is by doing something called the perfect breath, which is 5.5 seconds in and 5.5 seconds out. So you
Mm.
do that for 3 minutes and you
Mhm.
shift and you put your hand on your heart,
Mhm.
because that makes your brain concentrate on the fact that you're turning on
Right.
your brain in your heart.
Right.
That then allows you to live in gratitude,
Mhm.
kindness, compassion, and to shoot that out within its 3-foot margin. And all of those things turn on your happy hormones.
Ooh. Wow. So then you're not just spreading happy hormone for yourself, but also for others.
Right. So you're impacting all the other people that are in your life,
Mhm.
because and we're all energy. Eating the colors of the rainbow is eating energy. We have
Mhm.
chakras in our body that are different colors. And by eating all the colors of the rainbow, we're feeding all of the chakras to come into balance within our body. But we're also shooting out this balance and
Mhm.
all of these positive emotions, which are making us happy and changing our energy field for all the people around us.
Hmm. So,
So
wow. So when we focus
move
on ourselves, on our own happiness, and turn
right.
on our happy hormones, we just
It
create
just
even more happiness around us.
multiplies.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so, as a health muse, because I want to
Mhm.
inspire everyone to live the happiest life that they can live, the foundation is always going to be food. If you're not giving your body the right stuff to
Mhm.
operate, we're the most sophisticated computer in the world.
Mhm.
And if we're putting garbage in, what are we going to get? We're going to get garbage out, just like our computer systems.
Yeah.
Only we are much more complicated than any computer that will ever be
Yeah.
built. So it
Mhm.
starts with the food, but then it involves all the other healthy habits and
Mhm.
the doing the breathing and the concentrating on gratitude.
Mhm.
What you concentrate on, your brain pulls in.
What
So
you
by
focus on
having your
grows,
heart
right?
energy have that vibration, and
Mhm.
gratitude and kindness and compassion, they're all way up on the vibrational scale. And I
Mhm.
have not mentioned what the most important is. It all starts with self-love,
Mhm.
because if you love yourself, then you are in a position to exude love and sprinkle it to everyone you come in contact with.
Mhm.
So it's important that it starts with you. So I have a routine that I teach my clients when they get up in the morning. The first thing I want them to do is look in the mirror and say, "Good morning, Cheryl. Have I told you lately that I love you?" And I
Oh.
say it out loud because
Mhm.
I want to hear it. I
Yeah.
want my brain to hear it. I want my heart to hear it. Then my next question is, how do you feel today?
Mhm.
Because now that I have gotten away from being incapacitated, I'm never
Mhm.
going back there. So I'm like a little computer that goes through my head. If my body's complaining and it speaks to me in symptoms, then I make a plan right away about what I didn't do yesterday that I'm going to do today that's going to bring me back into balance.
Mhm.
Then I ask myself what I'm grateful for from the day before. because I want to acknowledge that, because whatever it was, I want to pull more of that into my life. And then finally, I asked myself, what would make you happy today?
Mm.
And you'll be surprised how smart your body is. It
Yeah,
wants to participate. And so every single morning, I go through that routine.
that's wonderful.
So doing the gratitude and sprinkling random acts of kindness wherever you go. I mean, we've got a whole group of people here who are bitching and complaining and their life is terrible. You know, go bless them. Go be this around them. Start, you're not going to change them, but maybe as an example, they will start to want what you have.
Right.
I just had my 75th birthday and I was asking for the entire month of January, do you want to be like me when you're 75? Or do you want to be one of those miserable people who's popping pills and can't function?
Right.
Because you control that. You have more power over your body than you have ever been told to believe. And I want all of you to jump out of bed just like I do, feeling on top of the world and ready to go out there and spread whatever goodness I can in the world. And these routines and kindness and gratitude and self-love, all of that is what will get you to pop out of bed in the morning as an extremely happy person. And then there's another thing that I have recently discovered that I absolutely love, and that's called glimmers. Glimmers also turn on all your happy hormones. And what a glimmer is, it could be a little thing. It could be my kitty jumping on me, wrapping around my neck and purring in the morning. It could be the way the sun rises out the back of my house in a series of multiple gorgeous colors. And the key with a glimmer is not only to notice it, but to register that you're noticing it, because we go through life so fast, and then to sit with it until you feel the glow.
Oh, nice.
It's the glow then that goes into your gut, travels up your vagal nerve to your brain, and turns on all your happy hormones.
Wow.
And then the other things that do it are laughter. Believe it or not, laughter is unbelievably good for your health. And it's almost impossible to hear laughter and not join it. At least you're going to giggle. My husband does yoga. My husband does yoga and they stop and they do 3 minutes of laughter. And I'm listening to him down the hallway and I'm giggling with him because the whole group virtually over a Zoom call is giggling and I hear them all.
Yeah.
And then the last one of them is hugging.
Yeah. You can't beat that, right?
That's at least 30 seconds, because when you hug and you touch, that also creates the happiness and turns on all those happy hormones. And the last one is movement creates endorphins. And endorphins also are happy hormones that impact everything in your life. So if you want to live a great life, you want to have the best possible brain power so that you can become all that you can be, you need to adopt all of this on a regular basis throughout the day, because that will not only impact you, but through your heart, brain, you're going to be impacting the other people and animals around you. And the compassion needs to not just be for other humans. It needs to be for other sentient creatures. It needs to be for nature. Trees actually have this incredible life where they also take care of their children in the forest. There's all kinds of research that they send nutrients, they warn them of danger. We live in a far more complicated world than we ever understood. And I call it vitamin N. You need to get out into nature, and then you need to also be grateful for everything that's there and send the same love and gratitude and kindness out to the world.
Wow.
And that will change
Thank
the
you
world.
so much, Cheryl. That was wonderful. Thank you.
So